All right, we're live. Here we go.
Hey.
And welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Joining me today on this, I think this is the second show of 2015 to discuss the world of photography and more, are a TWiP veteran, Mr. Derek Story, and a TWiP newbie, Mr. Lucas Passmore. Hey guys, how you doing?
What up?
Doing fantastic.
Derek, it's always good to see you. I'm going to get to you, but I want to start with Lucas. Lucas, you've been on TWiP. You and I met in person the first time
Yeah.
down in Los Angeles at Swing Studios. We were doing a model shoot down there, and awesome photographer, humblingly awesome photographer, I must say that you are.
Well,
But why don't you tell us about yourself for the folks that may not have seen the fashion episode of This Week in Photo? Tell us about yourself.
again, my name is Lucas Passmore. I've been a photographer since 2010. I mainly concentrate on commercial fashion photography, and what the difference is, kind of parsing out different genres within fashion. So when you say fashion photographer, one conjures up images of like supermodels in like very, like constructed couture outfits and gracing the pages of like Vogue or W.
Yeah.
And that certainly is an aspiration for myself personally, but the kind of fashion photography that I do, mainly what I make my living on right now, is commercial fashion. So this is the kind of stuff that you'd see in lookbooks and catalogs. For instance, commercial fashion is Abercrombie, Levi's, Free People, Anthropologie, Gap. That's commercial fashion. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm kind of at a very low rung in the ladder in the industry, but being on the West Coast, so Southern California and Los Angeles specifically, there is a lot of opportunity for commercial fashion. More so even than even in New York. I mean, New York is very high fashion and editorial fashion. So if you want any kind of commercial fashion endeavors, LA is a great place, and it's a little less intimidating than the Big Apple sometimes. So
Very cool.
so
Very
that's
cool.
what I do.
Well, we'll learn more about you. You and
Yeah.
I are doing a webinar this Wednesday as we record this. So by the time, hopefully, unless there's some sort of natural disaster or something crazy happens,
Yeah.
this show will drop Friday. We will already have done the webinar, so it will be live. So folks can head over to thisweekinphoto.com to see that, right?
Yep, this Wednesday noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can listen to my nasally drone go on and on and on about getting your start and the first steps you want to take in fashion photography. I'll break it down, dissect it, demystify it all, and with plenty of photo examples that I've
Excellent.
taken and used. So look for that
Excellent.
soon.
And
on
with
Wednesday.
the obligatory parental guidance sticker at the beginning of the presentation for folks that are a little intimidated by anatomy, right?
Yep. Fashion photography and nudes go kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
Obviously, very tasteful, very artfully done, but it's a fact of the industry. So in the webinar again Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12
Yep.
p.m. Pacific Standard. You may see a boob or two, so no small children in the room.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. There you go. Or immature adults, right? So.
Or immature adults. Yes, here.
All right. Well, speaking of immature, no, I'm kidding, Derek. So, so also on the show is my good friend, and he is my good friend, so I can tease him like that, Mr. Derek Story
That's
from The
right.
Digital Story and The Nimble Photographer. Hey, Derek, what is happening in your world?
Well, we both just got back from Vegas and
No,
had
I didn't. You did. I skipped
Oh,
it.
you didn't go?
No, no.
Oh. Uh,
I did the Neo in the Matrix. I dodged that bullet and stayed in California.
uh, anyway, I just got back from Vegas and I'm getting ready to head out to Miami actually, and
Ooh.
then from there to Havana. So January is a fun month. Lots
Wow.
going on.
Havana, huh? Why? What's happening in Havana? You just going down there because you can now, or what?
No, you can't now. The rules haven't really changed that much. This was in the works for about 6 months.
Okay.
I'm leading a photography people-to-people tour there,
Oh.
which is one of the umbrellas in which you can do something in Cuba. So we're going to I'm going to fly into Miami, and then we get briefed and get our visa and all that, and go to Havana, and then I'll be working there for 2 weeks.
Very cool. Very
So I'm
cool.
really
Awesome.
looking forward to it. I really want to go. So I'm pretty jazzed, pretty happy
Now,
about this.
are there any slots left on that for people to sign up for, or are you completely booked out?
Yeah, it's booked out, and there's like all sorts of kind of funky stuff you have to do. So yeah,
Oh,
we're loaded on this and ready to go.
got
And
it.
you know, but you know, it's great because Cuba's in the news right now, and even though it hasn't really changed what we're doing, uh, what may happen in 2016 and beyond, you know, maybe the photos we take and the videos we shoot and all the stuff that we do, you know, might be useful thinking about going there. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Cool. Well,
yeah.
have a good time. That is, Cuba is definitely on my list of places to go. So you'll have to be recon for me. I think who just went down there? Someone from TWiP was just there. I gotta think of who that was.
I saw someone on Twitter had did a shot, and I didn't know she was going. I don't know her personally. I can't remember her name right now, but yeah, someone else is down there too right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good to have both of you on the show. Just a quick update on what's going on in with me. So we're kicking off this webinar series, as I mentioned before. The first person that's going to be doing it happens to be on the show this week. Look at that. Planning. This Lucas Passmore is
Yeah.
doing fashion photography. Then after that will be Giulio Sciorio talking about 4K for photographers. Or in other words, how some photographers are starting to use high resolution or 4, 5K, 8K video to shoot motion and then harvest or extract still frames from it as sort of a MO for shooting events and things like that. So we're going to have that. Also, new on the network, we're just about to launch a show called The Fix. Actually, it's live on the site right now. We're just waiting on iTunes approval. It's called The Fix, and it features Jan Kabili of lynda.com fame, and she's written several books. I think she may even be an Adobe certified trainer. She's, a powerhouse when it comes to Lightroom and Photoshop. So she's hosting our post-processing show called The Fix. We're also working on a new show with Giulio Sciorio called Emerge, about emerging photographic and photography technologies. And then after that, I'll be heading to Imaging USA to hang out with the Panasonic folks and do some TWiP interviews from their booth in Nashville, Tennessee. So Nashville, Tennessee.
My wife from Nashville. That's a lovely town. Great
Yeah,
barbecue.
I've been there once.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
been
gonna
there
email you
once.
a whole bunch of places to go eat. So.
Yeah, when I was there the last time, I got a chance to go to what is it, the Grand Old Opry there, and kind of hang out. It's a nice town. I like it.
I love Nashville. You should look up a photographer named Jeremy Cowart. Cowart.
I've heard of Jeremy.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, he's based out there. He's an old friend of my wife's, and actually, when I wanted to get into photography but wasn't sure yet, she asked him, "Hey, do you have any recommendations on cameras?" And he said, "I'm about to upgrade to the 5D Mark II. This is circa 2009. If Luke wants to buy my old Sony, whatever it was, feel free." And I bought it. So I have Jeremy's first camera that he started shooting.
Look at that! It's got some Cowart magic in there. Yeah,
Jeremy sure does.
Jeremy's a longtime friend of This Week in Photo and mine. So yeah, we go way back.
Well, tell Jeremy Summer Oakley, which is her maiden name, says hello.
I will do that. All right, guys, before we jump into the show, I would like to thank our first sponsor for this episode of This Week in Photo, and that's our good friends over at lynda.com. All right, guys, let's jump into the news. The first story is about CES. As we alluded to, Mr. Derek Story is fresh off the plane, or also known the flying petri dish from Las Vegas to here, and he made it back in one piece. So there's lots of, there were some, exactly. There were new announcements there, but from what I saw from back here at base camp, I didn't see a whole lot of things that kind of knock my socks off from a photography standpoint. Derek, did you have any different experiences on the ground there?
No, my socks are still on, actually. So, yeah, I mean, I thought for photographers, it was a pretty ho-hum show. And I'm not sure how exciting of a show it was overall if you really step back and you're thinking innovation. I didn't see a lot of innovation. I saw a lot of Me Too. For instance, everybody thinks they have to have an action cam now, and things like that. Where it was interesting was in home automation, smart home,
Yeah.
Bluetooth-related technologies. All that stuff was actually pretty cool. And I actually like that a lot better than anything I saw in the world of photography. I
Yeah,
did,
what was it? It was a couple of years ago. The trend at CES. They seems like they go through these waves, right? It was a couple of years
yeah,
ago. It was the 3D TV, and
yeah,
then last year it was 4K. It was all about 4K TVs and these big, giant, massive,
right.
flat TVs with zero bezel. And so I was kind of wondering what this year would be. And it sounds like if there was any theme, it might have been home automation. Is that it? Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I would go with that too. I mean, and especially in terms of something, not only was it popular, but it really has come of age. And I think part of it is because our mobile devices are so much better now, so much more powerful, that they hook into the home automation systems really well, and they're simple to use. I mean, you put a few things in your outlets, you set up maybe even a little hub or something, and then you download the app for your smartphone, and you literally can have all sorts of fun.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like turning on the coffee pot from bed, now kind of stuff too, where your mobile device knows when you're leaving the house, and it lowers the temperature on the thermostat and dims the lights and does all that kind of stuff. But it's real now. Before it was like, hey, you could do it, but you had to be a nerd. Now I think it's for mass market. So and I like it actually. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. With everything, and my house is slowly becoming assimilated into that stuff because it started with a little nest. Actually, I had two nests, one
Yeah.
upstairs, one downstairs, and I'm like, oh, I can change. I get off the plane, I can make sure the house is a good temperature by the time I get home, all that, and then a couple of switches for outlets so I can turn lights on and off intelligently. And then for my birthday, I got one of the Nest thermostats. My girlfriend gave me a Nest thermostat, which I haven't installed yet. But it's like these little pieces start encroaching, and I know Apple
Yeah.
and smart things are coming out with stuff. So. And I know I'm geeky, so ultimately I know my house is just going to be a complete robot at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say, Frederick, in
Yeah.
5 years, you're going to have the bridge of the Enterprise at your little pad down there. So
I'm working on it. I would like that. I want to be able to say computer.
Yeah, but only in that act. It only responds if you say it like Chekhov. So.
Exactly. But hey, I tell you, not to go too far off base from photography, but we're talking about CES, so I have an Xbox One in the living room that acts as my sort of entertainment hub, which is awesome. I have an Apple TV in there too, but I default to the Xbox One because it is so good for entertainment and like going to my Netflix, my Amazon Prime account, Hulu, all these things. I can sit on the couch and do it by voice, and it actually works pretty close to perfectly. Like even I need to get up and get some water, I can say Xbox pause, and it pauses. I go get it, and I sit down. Xbox play starts again. I can search YouTube, all that stuff. So getting used to that as the main hub in the house, I find the rest of my house lacking.
Right.
Because I want to be able to I want to be able to lay in bed and say, lights off or it's something. I need voice everywhere now.
This is going to be the problem, Frederick, is that one day that Xbox is going to talk back. Be like, how are you feeling, Frederick? I can't do that right now, Frederick.
I know.
So be careful of the singularity.
I know. Close the garage bay door, Frederick.
Yeah. Frederick, kill your cat, Frederick. Yeah.
I know it's coming. Yeah, the only problem with all this stuff is when you lose internet connectivity, and then my entire house becomes a doorstop.
Yeah, you might have to actually get up to turn off the lights. Yeah,
which is unacceptable to me.
Yeah. This is 2025. Like.
Yeah. So at CES, one of the things that was hyped was this Sony press event that they had, right? So, and Sony always does this giant press event, kind of like a Macworld Steve Jobs-ish kind of keynote, where they drop probably, I would imagine, like a bundle of dough to produce this thing and put it on, which I still don't understand why, because you could just issue it online. But I was expecting something fantastic from them, because they put all this effort into it. And unless I'm missing something, I think they kicked it off with, like Derek, you're saying, they kicked it off talking about action cams and they shoot 4K now and all that.
Yeah.
But then they launched, maybe you guys can help me understand this. Lucas, especially you. You're younger than me, so maybe you can help me understand this. They launched the Sony Walkman, or the new version of the Sony Walkman that, get this, it plays music. And I think it'll do video and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, I have a device that can do that is generally always with me. Why do I need your device, Sony? And why are you coming to the party this late with this device? I understand you own the brand, but why? Why now? I don't know.
Yeah,
did you guys see that, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, I think that's just a kind of an attempt just at that branding. Like, Sony Walkman is that everyone knows what that is, but unless you're like kind of being a retro hipster, and if they have like an analog design, kind of how like the Fuji X100S is kind of has an analog kind of design, and so it makes it like, ooh, I want to use that. It's a great camera, don't get me wrong, but it's desirable because of its aesthetic. So if this Sony Walkman, and I didn't see it, so I'm sorry I can't speak to it. Sorry, there's sirens going off in the background, guys.
That's okay.
I live downtown LA, so it's like constantly everything's on fire. Hold on, I'll mute myself real quick.
No, Derek, did you see that? Did you see that Walkman, Derek? What did you think of it?
I mean, it a lot of what's going on in general at CES, which is trying to dredge up old successful brands. Excuse me, old successful brands, and see if they can reinvigorate their market, doing stuff that other people are doing. I mean, it was just really a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's sad that we can cover most of what happened at CES in the first 10 minutes of an episode of TWiP. So I'm glad. The other story that you went, Derek, and you subjected yourself to a petri dish, but.
The other thing, obviously, is drones. I mean, drones were just like bzzz, everywhere, and it's just like drone mania, from palm-sized drones to like the Inspire one by DJI and everything in between. DJI did have a new product that was kind of neat, where you could take the camera off the Inspire one and put it on a stick that has controls. So you could do your flying, then you could continue shooting the video using all the communications on ground level.
Oh, that's really cool.
So that was actually really nice. It was one of the things that I liked.
I would almost like to see an event that's dedicated to UAV photography, or just UAVs in general. Like this, because it seems like that industry is getting huge now. That it's no longer.
It is.
At some point, it's not going to be sufficient to be a part or a tag on to a larger trade show. I would like to see a trade show that's specifically dedicated to these kind of forward-thinking technologies.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see that if it doesn't exist already, we just don't know about it. But that was a big deal. So there was a lot of that there too.
Yeah.
But overall, I think takeaways for the general public, especially those watching this show, I think unless you get excited about the Nikon D5500 or Canon Compacts or a Polaroid Socialmatic camera, probably not a whole lot. There was some NDA meetings of some stuff that's coming down the pike in February, March. That is pretty cool. And
tell us all about what was in those. Stuff that you can't talk about there.
Yeah. But I'm back on the show after one of them wears off, so we'll talk then.
Okay. All right. We'll hold you to that. All right, guys. Let's get away from Vegas and come back to photography. Story number 2 is about a photographer that's facing a lawsuit from a model, Lucas, after images being used inappropriately. So let me read this blurb. It says,
Not mine.
Photographer Joshua Resnick is facing a $500,000 lawsuit from a model who is suing him after images of her were used in a variety of ways, including escort ads, ads for a strip club, and on the cover of erotic novels. Resnick paid the model and had her sign a release so that he could sell the images to a stock agency. The images were only sold through the stock agency with a terms of service that did not allow for pornographic or defamatory use. The photographer believes that the companies that use the images either obtained the images from the model's Facebook page or they purchased them from the stock agency and broke the terms of service by using them in the manner that they did. However, they obtained them or however they obtained them. The model is holding the photographer responsible and is suing for $500,000. Resnick is worried about the precedent this case could set, so he's doing what he can to fight the lawsuit and has set up a crowdfunding campaign to help raise the money. Of course he's worried about it. The precedent that it will set is you're going to be broke, dude.
Yeah.
That's the precedent. So, Lucas, I want to start with you on this. Obviously, this is like right down your alley here. So, when you read this, what was your first reaction? Did you side with the model in terms of, yeah, she has a case, or is this a like wrongful lawsuit against this innocent photographer? What do you think?
I think that what we're probably not reading is the girl's probably also going after the stock agency, and she's going after the who's ever the flyer that is in Vegas, the kind of erotic novels, the publisher who made those. She's going after everybody. So what we're just seeing is just kind of the photographer, because that kind of is more of a headline, because he's the one who took the image, and plus we're photographers, so we kind of grasped to that immediately. This really is a hot mess, and my opinion on it is she definitely has a case, in that lawyers can make anything out of a case. And just because she signed a model release, I imagine that this guy, if he's kind of doing stock photography, I imagine that this model release is probably something he downloaded from the internet, or that a lawyer just said, "Oh yeah, that'll be fine." I really don't think model releases are worth the paper they're printed on. For this kind of thing, for recruiting and acquiring, not acquiring, but for getting talent for your projects, there has to be definitely lawyers involved on both sides. When it's a freelance thing like this, I get that can't happen, but this is the result sometimes. If in fact,
the scary thing though, this is what scares me about this kind of stuff in shooting models, and this is what I want you to address. And maybe I think you're going to hit some of this in the webinar Wednesday, but just that whole idea of opening yourself up to something like this, whether it be he touched me inappropriately and there's no one there to vouch for you, so you're whatever, the guy that's in charge, so you take the fall, or you use the images inappropriately because there was a "the" instead of an "and" in the model release, so now your house is gone. Those kind of things worry me. I mean, as a photographer that's out there doing this multiple times a week, Lucas, is this something that you keep in the back of your mind, and what do you do to safeguard against it?
Well, one thing that just by my nature, my photography isn't very suggestive. So if it's a cover of an erotic novel, I'm wondering what kind of image he took to begin with. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it. But let's just imagine it's still pretty innocuous. This is why photographers, especially if you're endeavoring on things like this, you need to incorporate. You need to make an S corp or an LLC. So when you get sued, they sue the company, not you. And if he's just kind of a day-by-day photographer, month-by-month, paycheck to paycheck, I mean, the company's not worth anything really, and so they're not going to get any money out of him. Again, I really do believe that she's going after multiple parties in this, in a much bigger lawsuit. The thing is regardless, it's still going to cost him money to go to court to address this. So he's not getting out of this. He's not getting kind of a wave off, or even if it's dismissed and thrown out, he's probably out 50 grand. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I should have been a lawyer, not a photographer. Much more money to be made in that realm.
Yeah.
But as far as like kind of what I do and how do I protect myself, again, incorporating first step for anyone kind of like not taking pictures of mountains, because mountains can't sue you, or hummingbirds can't sue you, or Martin out there in Tokyo or Japan, snow monkeys can't sue you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. This is kind of price of admission sometimes, that this can come and blow back on you. I will say though that if you're a photographer and you're taking pictures of people that you don't know and then selling it to stock agencies, this is, even though you got a model release, even though terms of service for the stock agency prohibited use of pornography or erotic nature, it's just, I wouldn't do it. My stock business would be like animals and mountains and like and innocuous things, because people are, it's a mess. It's a mess. And I really feel for this guy. I will be donating to him for sure, because that's a brother, and that's not his fault.
Yeah, we are in a litigious kind of society here, and I look at my latest binge watching subject on TV has been The Good Wife. Right, so it's a series on TV that's about this woman who's a lawyer in this high-powered law firm in New York, and blah 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 blah. And they take these cases, and they argue the cases on that show, and it's realistic. And I'm like, oh man, I would hate to get caught up in the judicial system. Period.
No.
I don't even want to drive by a courthouse. It's just ugly. Derek, you shoot models as well. When you see a story like this, does it send chills up your spine as if this could have been me, or are you on the model side? Where do you net out?
No, I'm concerned. I'm with Lucas on this, and one of the things I switched to is that now I have a female assistant that's always there when I'm shooting female models, and just part of the deal. I do all the other stuff, the model release and all that, and I personally don't care for stock. I don't want to have my model images on stock, so I kind of go with the thing. Yeah, I get to know these people, and if they're a corporate assignment, I don't have to worry about it so much. But for my own work, I have Leah, and I do the work, and I stay away from stock for the very reason.
Yeah. So then, Derek, you brought up the model release, and Lucas, I know you and I have spoken a little bit, and you kind of alluded to the fact that many model releases aren't worth the paper that they're printed on. How do you get a model release? This is to both of you guys. How do you get a model release that is going to protect you? And is there such a thing, or is it just, a placebo? Where do you get this stuff?
Well, I think that model release. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Derek. I stepped on you. Go ahead.
You kind of said at the beginning, lawyers can make any sort of argument, and I agree with that. But start with the ASMP model release template. I mean, that's what these guys do, and go there and then modify it to your taste, and it's one of the things that you can do. But you're right. Lucas is right. No one thing's going to protect you from every lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing, Lucas, that you're a proponent of is working with models from an agency, right? And that is one level of protection. At least you filter out a certain level of crazy, with going through a company. Right?
When I shoot, I don't really shoot freelance models. I don't shoot models that aren't with an agency, mainly because agency girls are better overall for what I'm aiming for. Don't get me wrong, freelance models, you're all beautiful. I know you would never talk to me in bars anyway. Everyone's great. But for the kind of pedigree, maybe that's a pejorative word, for the kind of look I want, an agency is where to go to find it. Trying to be nice.
Yeah. Send your hate mail to lucaspassmore.com.
Yeah, but spell Passmore with 6 S's. Yeah. Send it there. That one works.
Yes. Yeah.
So I go through agents. Agents set everything up. Agents are very aware of what I'm doing and when, and they see they get the report card from the model afterwards. And it's more. I've never had a problem. Knock on wood. But again, incorporate, fellas, so they can sue that, not you.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's a double-edged sword. But when we were sort of talking about your presentation, and you sort of kind of shed the light on how it's not that hard to get models from agencies versus other places. Where I get a little worried at is like a Model Mayhem. Model Mayhem's awesome for what it is, but I get worried there because you find a model there, and if you manage to get her to show up, then it's an unknown quantity, right? It's almost like Craigslist.
Yeah. You don't know exactly who's going to show up. Agencies, there's a little bit more accountability, a little bit more professionalism, a little bit more security. And take security and all its meanings underneath that. Security, protection for you, protection for the model, protection overall. Agencies are kind of the way to go. And we can talk more about that, Frederick, on Wednesday with our webinar.
In the webinar, which, by the way, will be, by the time they see this or listen to this, will already be recorded, so it'll be on the TWiP website. They can listen to the replay. So we're kind of doing a Back to the Future thing here. Derek, where do you go? I mean, you're still doing the Derek Story Workshop series and all that stuff, and you have to hire models for that. Where do your models come from when you do those workshops?
I still use Model Mayhem some, but I have a system that helps.
A finely tuned filtration system.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But more and more now, I get referrals from other models and that I work with, and that's been working really well for me. And they go, yeah, she's really. I mean, one of the big problems I have is being reliable.
Right.
I need someone who's reliable and professional, and so references from other models are really helpful. So once you kind of get the thing going a little bit, it's easier.
Yeah, yeah, that reliability, the reliability, in other words, showing up, right, and
Yes.
showing up on time. My experience has been the great sort of lure to get people to show up is cash. So
Yeah.
So people tend to, when you take it more, or people tend to take things more seriously when there's money involved. So, and Lucas, I wanted you to talk about this because I know you have an opinion on paying models versus models paying you or not paying at all. What do you net out on that? Is it better to pay a model if you have a mission critical shoot or not? How does that work?
How do I sound not snotty?
By not starting out, how do I sound not snotty?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've just never paid a model. I've never needed to. We'll cover this more in the webinar, but it's because I live in Los Angeles, and there's kind of more models that are in need of good photographers than the other way around here. Yeah. So I've just never needed to, and I don't say that braggingly. It's just the state. It's kind of how it is. I will say, as a footnote relating to the story, even if that guy paid that girl, to do the thing, like doesn't matter. She could still turn around and sue him. So paying exchange of money doesn't protect you from anything. Well, I paid you for this shoot, for the stock shoot, doesn't matter. It's just the nature of the aggression of what it was turned into supersedes any kind of monetary compensation from that day. But yeah, it's like, depending on where you are and what you have access to, you may have to pay a model, because she may be the only one within 50 miles of you that fits your kind of look, and she knows it, so she's gonna have you open up your wallet. But
it's the law of supply and demand, like you were saying earlier.
Exactly.
If you live near a freshwater lake, you probably don't have to pay for water. But if you live in the desert, you're probably going to be paying for water.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. So, Lucas, any horror stories? Like any horror stories with bad experiences that you can share with us?
As far as just shooting models, I would say there's no. I've been so fortunate to have most of the girls I work with are absolute sweethearts. Just good girls, good professional girls. I've had 2 divas and 1 nut job, but they were really pretty, so the images turned out great, and that's all that really matters. I've had the horror stories are like the agent pulling the model to go to an important casting 30 minutes before call time, when I've paid for a location, got a stylist who's done pulls from showrooms, and got a makeup and hair person. I'll tell this story on Wednesday. But that's probably the biggest one, is like I have this whole team. I actually spent money to do this shoot, and my talent got pulled 30 minutes before we're slated to start. I did pull it off. You'll have to tune in Wednesday, kids, to find out how. See, it's called leading the story, Frederick. That's what it's called.
Yeah, thank you. I'm taking notes. I'm
just kidding. So, but again, going through agencies, I usually have a very positive professional experience with minimal time wasted. So I do recommend that. But I know not everyone has access to agencies, and for that I say, move. I don't know.
Again, send your hate mail to lucaspassmore.com.
Sorry.
What about you? Any stories? The divas or crazy people in your modeling shooting past?
Not yet. Knock on wood. The one thing I did want to say though, I'm the opposite of Lucas in that I always pay. I always pay. Put it up front, and I just like it to be a business, and I'm using them for usually events where I'm making money. So they get a slice of the pie.
Oh yeah. You mean like workshops?
It works better that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely
I
workshops.
would pay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if it's a paid gig, and I understand. So basically, just to put a finer point on it, on the side of Lucas, you're saying, if you're doing a test shoot or that sort of thing, you're not paying the model because you're paying them with your talent and your time and the photographs for their book at the end. But on the Derek side, if you're doing if it's a business related profit generating endeavor, then they're
Absolutely.
part of the business. They just become a line item or an expense in the business that you're going to pay them. And what I say on top of that, with paying them comes a certain level of skin in the game, and they're more apt to act like a professional if they're waiting on the second half of their paycheck or something.
Right. No.
Yeah,
Derek is
I pay them right on the spot.
Yeah. You're right on. If you're making money, they should be getting a part of that. I was just talking about just kind of test shoots to build your portfolio or do a personal project you want to maybe submit to a magazine or use on your website. But if it's the workshop, oh yeah, that's just good business, and that's fair compensation for sure.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, let's move on. I want to thank before we move on into the listener Q&A, I want to thank our second sponsor for this episode, and that's our good friends over at freshbooks.com. All right, let's jump into the Q&A, and this week's question is from Ingloy Tan from our G Plus page. Ingloy says, can our hosts recommend bags to use with mirrorless cameras and lenses? I have a GX7, an Olympus 4518, Panasonic Leica 1517, and Panasonic Leica 2514, blah, 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 a bunch of lenses, and a flash. Yeah, I'm like, why am I reading all these numbers? They have a bunch of lenses and a mirrorless camera. The names and sizes are irrelevant. But the person's asking what small bags are there out there that are designed to be used for these smaller cameras, saying the ones that are designed for DSLRs tend to be too deep for these types of cameras. Derek, I know you have some experience in this area. What do you think? What bags do you recommend for the mirrorless world?
Well, yeah, there's good stuff now. They're catching on. Think Tank makes bags specifically designed for mirrorless cameras, and they're pretty good. Have you tried one of them? You have, haven't you?
Yeah,
Frederick?
yeah, I have. I'm like any photographer that I'm like women in their purses, man. I got too many bags, and none of them are perfect. They all do one or two things great, and then fall down, or they're good for certain situations and not others. So. I'm in search of the holy grail of bags, and I haven't found it yet. So yeah, but Think Tank is in there, and I have some one or two low pros, and I think that's it. It's mostly Think Tank and low pro. What about you, Lucas? What do you say to this? I don't think you're a mirrorless shooter yet.
Not yet.
I know you're thinking about it, but you're not.
I got my eye on that Sony A7 Mark II. I'm circling. It's time to upgrade. What am I going to do? Who knows? But I think I'm a big proponent and supporter of Tenba bags. Most of my bags are Tenba. They're really resilient. They've got a lot of extra features. And specifically, they just came out recently with their new Shootout is one of their lines that's kind of meant to be really mobile on the go and very weather resistant overall. But the new Shootout backpack, it's the 18-liter size. That is and I saw it in the store at Sammy's Camera here in Los Angeles recently. It's a little too small for my rig right now, but it would be a great kind of match for all things mirrorless. Now, it is probably going to be a little bit deep for a true mirrorless. If he's looking for kind of a really snug fit, like something you would make out of like a Pelican case, where it's just cut exactly to it. This is not quite it. It's pretty close, and it would definitely handle his arsenal of lenses he's kind of touting. I will say though, however, you don't necessarily want to carry a backpack, especially a bag, and carry everything. Put all your eggs in one basket. And I speak from a place of experience. Is I did just that, totally an amateur move, my second year of photography, and got my bag stolen in Griffith Park, and I lost 50mm lens, 6 memory cards. I had no reason I needed 6 memory cards for one test. My iPad, my iPhone, my wallet, my car keys, the Tenba bag itself, Luckily, I had my camera in my hand. I was shooting. I set it down and turned my back. So, you know, if it's a bag, meaning he's like carrying, he's going on the go, maybe consider just maybe instead of all his lenses all the time, all at once in search of that perfect bag, maybe go for something smaller. For instance, Chrome Industries makes more like bike messenger kind of stuff, but they actually have something called the Nico Sling. It's only $80. If you take a look at their website, that's chromeindustries.com, if you take a look at their website and search Nico Sling, you're going to see a nifty little camera bag that's made for kind of a smaller mirrorless kind of setup. It probably holds the camera with a lens on it and an extra lens. And you know, if your listener is just kind of like going to a quick shoot, or he knows exactly what lens he's going to be using because he knows what he's going to be shooting, he doesn't need to like carry like the whole kit and caboodle. He can just throw it in this Nico Sling and be off to the races. So that'd be kind of my two suggestions.
That's a good point. I want to have Derek address that too, because Derek, you're the nimble photographer, right? So you know what Lucas brings up is the thing that I think a lot of photographers struggle with, and that is when you're going out to shoot. Especially if you're not going out to shoot something where you know exactly what it's going to be, like, hey, I'm going to go to Yosemite and I'm going to shoot pictures. There's a lot of stuff to shoot there, so you want to be prepared for every eventuality or situation that might be put in front of you. So therefore, you're like, okay, I'm bringing everything. I got to bring all my lenses. I need to bring a camera, and I need a backup for that camera. I need multiple cards in case cards fail or I fill them up, and now I need a bunch of batteries for each camera body. You know, and maybe my iPad in case I want to stop and review and edit and all that stuff. So you end up with that bag that Lucas got stolen when you go out there. Well, what do you advise, Derek? Well, you know, is it just slim down and grab one body with a lens and have at it, or take it all?
The way I look at it is you have two types of bags. Normally a bag that's A to B. So you're going from your studio or your home to the destination. That's probably going to be a bigger bag. It'd probably be a backpack. But then you need a second bag that you either have in your suitcase or whatever that is the lighter bag, some of like what Lucas was talking about. So when you actually go out on the field, don't take everything with you if you don't need it. And certainly don't take a backpack into a crowded urban situation. That's so freaking annoying, you know, with backpacks, you know. And I just went through that at Vegas, you know, on the monorail and all that. Just like, what are you carrying a backpack for? Right. You get a good shoulder bag or a good waist bag, messenger bag. Put a couple lenses in it. Put what you need. Lock the rest of the stuff up.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, and I did a "What's in Your Bag" segment with Trey Radcliffe in New Zealand last year. And you know, one of the things that struck me, you know, Trey is always the hip kind of dude, right? And his camera bag is not even a camera bag; it's like a saddle bag that some shaman somewhere made out of like goat skin or something. You know? It looks nothing like a camera bag. Then you open it up, and there's all his mirrorless gear in there. You know, like why not? You know. I mean, do you guys think, is that a viable route to go? Like, don't even buy a camera bag anymore. Just buy something.
You can do a bag within. I call it bag within a bag, right? Yeah. So you have any sort of bag, and then you have you know, pouches and so forth that can go in there that protects your gear, and then you're not looking like a guy carrying around, you know, $10,000 worth of camera gear. Do it.
I'm a sucker for bags. My wife would love to hear me say this. I love bags. I do, man. I just love each little compartment, and they have a little thing, and there's a little zipper. Ooh, that fits my CF card perfectly. How snug. Like, I'm a sucker for that stuff. So unfortunately, I'm gonna keep buying bags. But just like my wife buys shoes, so we're even. But yeah, like Derek was saying, he just said, it's like you don't realize all of a sudden your bag has 10 grand in it. It doesn't feel like that because, you know, you don't really think of your iPad from day to day as something being really expensive. It's expensive when you buy it, but, you know, like months later, you don't, I'm just going to toss my iPad in my backpack, on my phone, and this lens, and these, you know, these 64 gigabyte CF cards. All of a sudden, just like me, I lost $3,500 like that. I didn't even know it. So didn't realize it. So be careful out there, kids.
Well, one piece that I want to talk about before we leave this little topic is camera straps. We talk about bags a lot, but very rarely do we talk about camera straps. And Derek, I think you might have some opinions on this. Like, do you keep the manufacturer camera strap on your camera, you know, that says Nikon
No,
or Lumix or
Oh,
whatever on there?
no, no.
What's both of you guys? What are your
Not,
MOs there?
well, I mean, I don't do it not so much because of the branding, but I don't like that kind of strap. I like, because I'm more of a street shooter. I like having a messenger bag where the camera's ready, and then maybe a quick wrist strap or something,
Yeah.
and and work that way. But I don't like walking around with a camera banging on, like that. It doesn't work for me. I'm already drawing enough attention at 6'7". I don't need to be Poindexter cameraman. So so
Yeah, no, I
so
agree.
I'm more of a wrist strap kind of guy, but I use the messenger bag as kind of my where the camera stays. Pull it out, shoot, put it back in.
Yeah, with just one or two lenses with you, and yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the branded camera strap. I mean, first off, that's just so JV. Like it's just not. It's not cool. I know you're very proud of your 5D Mark III, but when it says Canon 5D Mark III across it, if nothing else, it just looks really corny to me. Secondly, they're not comfortable straps. They're not. They're like, especially like wearing on your neck, even if you put it around your shoulder, they don't really have adequate padding, and they're not comfortable. So I think when I used to shoot events just to earn extra money when I first started out, I invested in a Black Rapids kind of quick sling strap, and that was much more comfortable, provided much more padding. But I'm with Derek now. It's just like I have like a wrist strap. You shoot. Oh, you want to put your camera down? Throw it back in the sling bag, or back on the backpack, or hand it to your assistant. Like I don't need it around my neck. Plus the camera with a battery grip, plus like a 24-70, it's like 8 pounds hanging on your neck. You know what I mean? It's not They're not comfortable.
Yeah.
So,
there's a fix for that, Lucas. You could just go mirrorless, and you'd cut off about 8 pounds of that.
Yeah. What brand will it go with, Frederick? I don't know. Maybe Sony, maybe something else.
There's really only 4 to choose from, so roll your dice. So.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you, this is the latest camera strap that I just got in the mail. This is from Peak Design. It's a wrist strap. You can see that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
See
Nice.
that? And the cool thing about this wrist strap, I know folks that are listening to this, you can't see it, but you can check out the video on the page. But it has this quick release system.
Oh, nice.
So basically, you just put these things on your cameras, and then they hook into, like today, I'm a wrist strap guy, but tomorrow I might want a neck strap, and then they make all kinds of different connectors that you can use depending on the situation. So I like the system because I can just buy those little connectors and put them on the different cameras that I have. And depending on the situation, much like the bag, Derek, I can pick the right strap for that particular day and roll.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Way to
so
go.
I like that. That's from design.
I think what we're all unified on is that the strap that comes with your camera probably isn't the A choice.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, I say the one that comes with your camera, I think they're okay, but what I get afraid of, because I'm traveling a lot more these days, and I get worried that, like you're saying with you're wearing this big Nikon D3 thing on you, and people know that that's at least $3,000 that you have hanging around your neck, and hey, I could, an evil doer might say, hey, I could take that guy, and I can feed my kids for a quarter with all I gotta do is hit him over the head and I'm good to go.
Well, Derek's 6'7", so I don't know if they're going to be able to take him necessarily.
Hey, the bigger they are, Derek.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so definitely. I hope we answered this listener's question, folks. If you have a question that you'd like us to tackle on the show, just head over to thisweekinphoto.com and click on that submit a question link, and you can send us a text question or send us a voice question. If you send us a voice question, we'll likely even play it on the air, and thousands and thousands of people will hear your voice and potentially your URL if you mention it.
Ooh, Frederick, I'll totally call in, but I'll do like a Scottish accent so you don't know it's me. But that's really bad, so you will know it's me.
That's the voice. All right, guys, let's move on. Wow, we're at the top of the hour already. Let's jump into the Picks of the Week segment, where you guys can pick something to recommend to the audience. Derek, I'm going to let you go first. What's your pick of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to go pricey this week. I stay away from that, but I got to finally test that Olympus 40mm to 150 f2.8 Pro lens. and I put it on EM1. And I tell you that, the focal length equivalent in 35 millimeter terms is 80 to 300. 6 inches long, 31 ounces, 2 separate lens systems run by 2 different motors, and the autofocusing super swift, dust water repellent, and even a tricky lens hood that stays on it, that slides on it, that just extends forward, so you don't have to reverse the lens hood, which I really like. $1,500. Nice. It is a really, really nice lens.
Wow.
It's.
And I bet it performs like a champ on that. Would you put it on an EM1?
I put it on EM1.
Yeah, with that 5-axis in-body image stabilization, it's got to be a beast. Yeah.
So that's the caveat. That if you shoot Panasonic, I don't recommend it because it doesn't have optical stabilization built in.
Right.
So you can get away with it on lenses, probably not an 80 to 300.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's nice. So that 40 to 150,
awesome,
and it's a constant. Is that a constant f2.8 all the way through the range?
Yeah, baby.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Virtually.
Wait, that's f2.8, Derek. That's f2.8 at 150.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes.
How is that even possible?
Yes,
wow.
It is. With virtually no vignetting and very little distortion. Only flaw I could find, a little bit of CA in the corners. In those situations, chromatic aberration. When you got like a tree branch in the corner against the bright sky.
Yeah.
I saw a little fringing. That was it. That was about the only dinger I had on it.
No, were you testing that, or did you purchase that?
I'm testing it. I have to send it back.
Uh-oh. What do you think? Are you going to get one?
I don't know. I mean, I lens. Here's the thing. You know me. I'm in two worlds, right? Usually, if I'm shooting a big hunk of glass, I pull out my Canon gear, right? Yeah. And so on my mirrorless world, I'm usually much lighter than that lens. So I usually don't go down that road, but there's a lot of mirrorless shooters who are using mirrorless for everything. They're not using DSLR, and for those guys, I mean, this is a heck of a lens, especially for sporting events stuff. Yeah.
So many options. I love it. Both on the DSLR side and on the mirrorless side. I think 2015, 2016 is going to just be an insanely cool time for all of these. Just to see what happens on the DSLR side, to see the innovations that happen and unfold on the mirrorless side, to see what happens on the drone side. I mean, all this cool stuff, and even with the home automation, I want to connect drones to my home automation system. I want to be Derek. I want to be in Vegas at some trade show and be able to pull out my iPhone and say, "Okay, drone, do a virtual flyover of my house to make sure it's safe, and then have it land on its perch again."
No, we're like right there.
Right.
We're serious.
And if your house is not safe, Frederick, you launch IMCB right at your house to kill the robber. You'll blow up your house as well, but the robber will be stopped. So
there you go. Yeah. Or electrify the door locks and all that stuff. So Lucas, this is your first pick of the week for this week in photo. The drum roll is on. What did Lucas pass for?
I don't know. Could I be so brazen as to have 2 picks of the week? Oh, the answer is yes. Okay, here we go.
Yes,
My first pick of the week is one Frederick Van Johnson for having me on This Week in Photo.
First time ever.
I have been listening to This Week in Photo ever since I bought a camera, ever since I started to really consider photography as a career, a viable career. I've been listening to you for 5 years. It is nuts that I'm on this show, much less giving you a pick of the week right now, which is you. And ladies, I met Frederick in person. Ladies, Frederick is a tall drink of water. That's a very nice swat, So, maybe check out.
Hey, you know what? If I could blush, I would be blushing right now.
but seriously, Frederick, thank you so much. It is kind of a weird, surreal thing to be on the show. It's crazy.
Oh, you're welcome, man. You're totally welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, anytime. And my second pick of the week is something we've all heard of, but is going to be my personal pick, which is the editing and raw processing software program Capture One. Right now, Capture One is offering you. They just came up with a brand new update, and you can download it for 2 months, 60-day free trial, full program. My trial ends in like a day, so I've been trying it out. And the bad news is for you Lightroom users, for you Adobe Bridge / Camera Raw users, it is a bit. There's definitely a learning curve. There is a bit, why does this thing take me 2 clicks to do in Capture One, and it only takes me 1 in Lightroom? Yeah. Right now, I can burn through a test shoot, in an hour, as far as like selection and basic raw processing, the selects. Capture One, it's not really that easy, but with a quick YouTube search, there's plenty of videos, both amateur and professional, that hey, I can't find the layers, I can't find the adjustment brush. You'll be able to get through it.
So my question would be, and I haven't tried Capture One yet, and if they've got 2 months for free, I'm definitely going to give it a shot and put it on my Mac. But why would, if I'm happy with Lightroom and Photoshop, and I am being held hostage by the Creative Cloud right now anyway, why would I consider using Capture One? I mean, what's better about it?
There's 2 answers. One's a shorter answer, which is, in my industry, that is the fashion / commercial fashion, etc. Industry. Capture One is the absolute industry standard, bar none. What
industry though? What industry?
Oh, sorry, fashion photography.
Okay.
Fashion, so any Digitech on set, you're going to be tethering to a Capture One program. Any professional retouching house is going to be using Capture One as its kind of base program to process the raw, and then go back and make even more adjustments after you close it in Photoshop. So it's the professional fashion photography industry standard, just period. It also blows Lightroom away right now as far as tethering, reliability, and speed. It just is. It's awesome. On the other hand, because I'm not like some huge fashion photographer or anything, so what do I need it for? I will say, okay, maybe it's a placebo, but there's some math going on. There's some algorithm that it just is able to really stretch out and maximize the raw files that I'm capturing right now in my Canon 5D Mark III. It out of the can, just with a few tweaks, like barely some global adjustments, all of a sudden my photos are like, oh, this is what they're supposed to look like all along. Like, it looks, I don't know what it is. It's like, I'm sure, I wish I could understand it at a technical level, but like, it just does a better job of right now at least, of maximizing your raw. And it just has this look to it, that Capture One kind of look to it, that like, I'll look at a simple test shoot, I'm like, if with a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more savviness, I can push this image and I can make it pretty close to something you'd see, in any given fashion magazine, and that's just me spending an hour with it. It's like, I don't know how it, maybe I think it's a little bit more contrasty by nature, but its colors, the way, like when I shoot with a Canon, and the Canon files in Lightroom, just they come out kind of orangey. I always have to just natively, I always have to shift the hue to like red hues, like plus 45. It just kind of looks kind of over. There's a lot of kind of tweaking you've got to do in Lightroom. Despite it being fast, I've got to kind of recalibrate the profile.
And what does Capture One run? Like once the trial is over, how much?
Yeah, I think it's $2.99 to buy the program outright, or you can subscribe to it for $10 a month. Oh. So it's kind of following the Adobe kind of subscription model. The difference is for $10 a month, you kind of only get Capture One. For $10 a month or $20 a month for the photography package in Creative Cloud, you get Bridge, Lightroom, Photoshop,
you get everything.
A couple other things.
Yeah.
So but again, it's the industry standard in my field. It's a good thing to know because when you're talking to your Digitechs on set and you're shooting, you should kind of know where things are and how to instruct them to adjust it. And again, as far as tethering goes, if you tether, it crashes once in a while, but it's nothing like Lightroom. Lightroom for me crashes left and right, stalls, freezes. Capture One, it's just fast and it just works.
That's on my list.
Yeah.
I will be downloading and playing with that this evening. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna spring for the subscription at least right now, because my trial's almost up. So. Yeah.
Derek, have you played with that at all? Derek, have you played with Capture One?
Yeah, it's terrific. It really is. It is.
Really?
I don't use this my everyday, but I've
And
had
I mean, if it's that terrific, and I know, see, you're an educator on Aperture, or what was Aperture and Lightroom and
right,
iPhoto. So you're an expert
right.
on these apps. Where does Capture One fall in that? And because I mean, you speak and you educate consumers mostly, right? So where does is
Yeah,
Capture One a tool that consumers should be considering, or is it more for the pro fashion crowd?
I consider it more pro. I'd throw DxO in there too. I like
Mhm.
DxO also. Yeah, um, but I think it's more of a pro tool, and that's generally. And I think where it's really strong is what Lucas was talking about is for tethering. It's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
if you're in a tethering situation and you're shooting raw with a compatible camera, it's pretty good stuff. But I think most enthusiasts, they have a broader field. I think Lucas brought up one point that's good, though, in all that, in addition to all that, is, how does a particular application decode your raw files
Mhm.
initially? I think that's a big deal because it's really quite different. And I mean, one of the reasons why I like DxO for my Canons is I like the way it decodes those raw files, and I've
Yeah.
always liked the way Aperture decodes my Canon files too. So
Mm.
I think I think looking for an application that decodes the raw files of the cameras that you shoot with is time well spent.
Yeah. Again, I wish I understood the math better, but I don't think it's in my mind. There is a definite difference between like my
There
raw
is.
file in Lightroom and my raw file in Capture One. And for what I do, that look right out of the gate in Capture One, it's for me, man. It's
All
tops.
right.
So I
All
think
right.
I'm
Well,
I think I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
be
try
good.
it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it out this evening and see if I can. Hopefully it'll work with the raw files I throw at it. But we'll see
Yeah.
if I can see
Yeah.
that difference that you guys are talking
Yeah.
about. It sounds
Yeah.
compelling.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can run a test where you don't do any global adjustments. You let it do the initial decode, save it out as a TIFF or whatever,
Mhm.
and then put them side by side from the different apps and see what you think as a
Yeah.
starting
I'll do that.
point.
I will do that. All right, guys. My pick of the week is, which Lucas has been so thankfully promoting throughout the show, is our webinar series. Not just Lucas's, but we've got a bunch of webinars, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that we're going to be doing on hopefully about a weekly basis. And you can, without belaboring the point even further, you can check them all out at thisweekinphoto.com/webinars or webinar singular, whatever, however you want to spell it, and it'll take you to the right spot, and you'll see all of our webinars there. And yeah, I hope you check them out and let us know what you think. All right, folks,
Very cool.
we're at the end of another episode of This Week in Photo. I want to thank our sponsors for their support of this show. That's our friends at freshbooks.com and at lynda.com. Lucas Passmore, where can people go to check out some of those fashion-y images that you create all the
Fashiony
time?
images. You can certainly go to my website, lucaspassmore.com. I will say, though, that my blog, which is my Tumblr, which is lucaspassmore.tumblr.com, is where I'm a lot more active. It's where I blog, where really I respond to it. It's more like Q&A. And I post all my B-rolls, all my kind of like tiny little model test shoots that's just me and the model, or just something small, nothing submitted, just to play around. Instagram, which is all the rage kids, is at Lucas Passmore, and Facebook is Lucas Passmore. Facebook.lucaspassmorephoto or whatever. You can find
Yeah,
it.
we'll link to it. We'll link it.
Yeah.
We'll link over to it. Perfect. Awesome. I'm so glad that the days, I know a lot of people are burdened by this, but I'm glad people are using their names for their social media presences instead of like, you know, Derek's story and your birthday, that stuff like that. I
Yeah.
love to see when people brand themselves with their names because, very rarely do you regret doing that.
Yeah.
So, Derek's story, where can people go to connect with you?
Everything goes to thedigitalstory.com. So Facebook, Instagram, hello, it all goes through there.
Are you pretty active on Instagram now, Derek?
Instagram, I love Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get a rhythm with Elo too. So
Yeah, I need to get back in there. It's just so much to do.
And
So much.
especially for photographers, I know we're wrapping up, but real quick, it's worth hitting again. Instagram is very valuable for photographers. I know we're resistant to, because it's mainly kind of geared towards younger kids, and it's like on the heels of the Facebook giant and previous social media things. It's very active. A lot of people find me through Instagram. I've definitely booked real brands, real jobs through Instagram. So It's a very, very valuable marketing tool for sure. And by the way, like all your clients are on Instagram. You need to be too. So so don't forego that. You're missing out.
I'm doubling down on Instagram in 2015, so I'm right there behind you. All right, folks, and if you want to check out the TWiP website, of course, you know where to go. It's at thisweekinphoto.com, and with that, it's time to take that lens cap off.